Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, as head of state in 1983, President Muhammadu Buhari began a social reformation, part of which primed towards politicians said to be corrupt. They bagged jail sentences for long terms. It was somewhat a follow-up to that of General Murtala Mohammed's fight against corruption through massive purging of the civil service. Now, ever since, different administrations have made attempts to tackle the monster called corruption. Now, incensed by the level it had assumed in Nigeria, the Obasanjo administration set up the ICPC and the EFCC to deal with it. Former President Goodluck Jonathan also latched onto the EFCC to fight corruption. Providence again brought Muhammadu Buhari back to power, and he's leveraging on those agencies to confront corruption head-on. First, he set up a Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, headed by a renowned lawyer, Professor Ishe Sage, to strategize modalities for anti-corruption and implement reforms in the criminal justice system. Today, the ICPC has established an anti-corruption academy to demonstrate what must be done to stamp out corruption in Nigeria. Now, almost 2 years in the life of this administration, the issue of corruption has been pursued at a reinvigorated pace, leading to interrogations and arrests on grounds of alleged corruption. Our business tonight focuses on what Vice President Yemi Osinbajo described as existential evil, corruption. But first, let's get to see this report by Dele Atumbi.
Nigeria, no doubt, is a country blessed with abundant human and natural resources. These resources make the country to be a potentially great at the attainment of independence. These potentials spur the nation's forebearers into action with the hope of making Nigeria to be a great country and the leading nation on the African continent. Service for the nation, as stipulated in the old and new national anthems, was the focus of the fathers of the nation, while pristine morality and selflessness were to be the core values of the people. With purposeful leadership and committed followership, the desired infrastructural facilities started springing up in no time. The railway line was working, civil servants showed commitment, and the industrial sector developed, thereby generating needed employment opportunities. So too, an economy driven by agriculture. Nigerians were welcomed in virtually all over the world. Unfortunately, enormous resources realized from oil became misused at the detriment of the nation, resulting in stunted growth coupled with moral decadence and corruption eroding values once cherished by the people. Impunity crept in, with open display of affluence by some corrupt individuals. Traditional institutions even caved in, giving chieftaincy titles to doubtful individuals to the disdain of honest Nigerians transferred to the public sector.
The problem of corruption in Nigeria stems from the fact that this country lacks ownership. As at today, Nigerians have refused to own Nigeria as their nation. And that is basically the problem of corruption.
The reason why we have this problem is because when states were created and offices were multiplied, the needs that arose were met by appointing people who were not so qualified.
We just view financial impropriety as corruption because of a level of poverty.
So the main cause of corruption is the lack of fear of God.
Right from the beginning, President Muhammadu Buhari identified corruption as the bane of the nation's progress and promised to tackle it headlong.
Corruption is a cancer which must be fought with all the weapons at our disposal. It corrodes the very fabric of government and it destroys society. Fighting corruption is key, not only to restoring the moral health of the nation, but also to freeing our enormous resources for urgent socio-economic development.
Slow in development, the consequences has been misdirecting funds, little funds that we have in Nigeria.
It destroys the entire nation.
Having identified the consequences of corruption, what is the way out?
Yes, we should integrate the nation. The nation is not integrated. There are too many boundaries.
The people, we need the nation first to fight corruption. The nation must be part of the process before the fight against corruption itself will succeed.
Nigeria need a mental turnaround.
It is on record that the anti-corruption fight of President Muhammadu Buhari has received accolades from the international community. In the light of this, observers say the anti-graft agencies should equally be up and doing in ensuring that every corrupt individual is brought to book, adding that the fight against corruption should not be a solo effort, but one that involves everyone. With the havoc which corruption has done to the nation, it is apt that the people heed the clarion call for change. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
That report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let me introduce our guest to you. I'd like to welcome to this program Professor Ishaq Koluide, who is Registrar JAM and Secretary General, Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs. Prof, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Let me also welcome Archbishop Josiah Idowu-Ferron, Secretary General, Anglican Communion Worldwide. It's nice to have you join us.
Thank you.
Right. And also with us here tonight, let's welcome Professor Shola Akinriade, Provost, Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. As we always do on this program, we acquaint you with the procedure. At the appropriate time, you can get to join in the discussion in the studio. The lines, of course, will be on your screen. We advise you take advantage of those lines. However, as we always say, when you do get through at the appropriate time on the phone lines, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV set so we can avoid the hurlback or the echo. Now, once your name appears on screen, it means your call has been taken, and we like to encourage you to go straight to the point. Do not bother about all the greetings and things like that. Just go straight to the point, ask your question or make a comment, and our guests will gladly address such issues as you might raise. So once again, welcome to Tuesday Live. And let's begin to talk about this, as the Vice President called it, existential evil that is bedeviling Nigeria. And there's been so many definitions. People describe corruption in different ways. And we'd like to start from a premise and look at just how wide is this incidence in Nigeria today. And people have also asked, corruption, gratification, they seem to be one and the same thing, or are they different? But just give us a general view, Professor Akinriade.
Thank you very much. Many times we describe rather than define corruption. We define it by the consequences, we define it by the manifestations, we define it by what we can see. The one back has tried to give us a definition which says using public benefit for private gain. That is about the most obvious and most simplified version. But corruption doesn't dwell only in the public domain. It pervades the entire society. It's in the private sector, and indeed many times even the public sector corruption is fueled by private sector initiative. There are activities that are fueled by private initiatives. And it has pervaded virtually every sector of the national life. The economy, the education sector, the social services. So it's something that is covering the whole gamut of national life. And the effect is felt everywhere. It's not just the looting of the treasury, but even the undermining of our services, the impact on the quality of life, and on our achievement of our national objectives. These are some of the wider manifestations of corruption in society. So it's not so much saying gratification, bribery, gratification, or all aspects of corruption. It depends on where you're looking at it. If it's bribery, it is extortion, nepotism. There are different manifestations of corruption. All, sometimes it's not even to gain financial benefits. When you give an appointment to somebody, maybe it's not material benefits. But all of them end up undermining the national objective. It undermines the quality of life. It undermines the attainment of the high quality that we expect nationally.
All right. We'll come back to so many of those issues, but let's come to Archbishop Ferron. What's in a people? What is this thing in a people that makes them engage in activities that are inimical to proper social behavior?
Thank you, Cyril. I will speak from my own constituency. Generally, human beings have the tendency to be free. But from the religious point of view, our freedom is based on obeying the injunctions or the rules and regulations we have in our scriptures, either as a Muslim or as a Christian. And these scriptures are very clear. God says, don't do this. God says, do this. However, for the average human being, he knows what God wants him to do and what God does not want him to do. But there is that innate tendency to want to satisfy self and think he or she can now pacify God by giving him a bit of the fruit of disobedience. So even for the believer, that temptation is there. Now, when you come to the Nigerian society, because this is our own concern in this country today, Nigerians have always wanted imported things as against things that are indigenous to Nigeria. This is not what I am saying. This has been proven by research. And this thing we are facing today is not new. I think the first record of corruption case in this country dates back to 1944. So you're right, it is something that it's in our DNA. It's in our DNA, and unless there is a turnaround, and that's what we're doing today. There is a turnaround. There has to be an attitudinal change. It's not just a question of preaching or what. The individual has got to make up his or her mind to say, look, this is what my scripture tells me to do, and I'm going to do it, whether people like it or not.
All right. Professor Oluyi, the same question would put to you.
Thank you very much. I agree with Archbishop Ferron's position, except that I believe that people do what they do under the assumption that they will not be detected. I think that's one of the major reasons. I believe that people do what is wrong. Many of the people do what is wrong will do so if they are sure or almost sure that they can go scot-free. A number of people will not do when they know for sure. Yes, people are thieves, not because they steal. They steal because they are thieves. So we know, as he has said, that if somebody is not a thief, is not likely to steal, even if things are moving around him. But there are people who steal because they find opportunity they become thieves simply because there are opportunities. I believe that the ability of governance to detect and sanction bad behavior is a deterrent for those who might be tempted to do. But I need to go a bit into this issue of the definition. Professor Akinade was telling us about the fact that corruption is not just in public service, it's even in private. That's why I see corruption as an act or inaction, action or inaction that is aimed at hurting or undermining the interests of others to one's sectional or individual advantage. When you look at it from that point of view, you will see that what is there is the intention to appropriate, to steal. And it's so wide. For instance, if you value water, you don't steal water. But somebody will say, what is in water? Some people, legitimacy is the most important thing. Once you do not obey the law, you are already corrupt. And what I mean by that is, what makes a property yours is acquisition, ownership of it, either through inheritance, through work, or through gifts. The same thing, if you say, I'm not stealing property, but young girls are entrusted to you, and you take undue advantage of those girls because you are a teacher, you are a lecturer, you are a this, you are corrupt. Because what makes a woman legitimate to you is marriage. Once marriage is not there, just as the man or woman who steals other property, you are also stealing by taking something through a route that is not legitimate. Therefore, I believe that one of the major reasons why corruption is thriving in Nigeria, or particularly in developing countries, is the inability of the system to detect. And even when they detect, the incapacity to sanction appropriately. That's my view.
All right. Now we've seen different sides to it. But again, one would wonder if, speaking from the premise of both Professor Oluyede and Archbishop Ferron, you would wonder, there are societies that, Archbishop Ferron mentions about God, talks about God. There are societies, there are individuals who do not necessarily conform to either, the major religions you have in Nigeria today, Islam, Christianity, they do not conform to, they do not believe in those, yet they still have an element of propriety. So, how would you explain that?
Well, the one major problem that permits the prevalence of corruption is weak systems. Weak systems in terms of detection, weak systems in terms of reporting, weak systems in terms of sanction, weak systems in terms of reward, weak systems in terms of even the cultural acceptance of some of the things we do. Corruption is not, quote unquote, a Nigerian word, it's an English word. It's available in every society. But what makes the difference is the way we respond to it. Over the years in this country, we have tolerated corruption. And indeed, I would say that our response in terms of fighting corruption has been more of episodic response rather than a consistent, sustained approach. If you fight corruption for 1 year and you step back, it will come back in a multiple dimension. But over the years as a nation, as a people, forget about the government, we have tolerated corruption. In this attitude of see, don't look, see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil. It doesn't concern me. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's not my money. And when people get appointed to office, people celebrate. Not because they see somebody who is going there to contribute, but it's our turn to chop. Many times we celebrate those who are supposed to be castrated. Right? But at the end of the day, what do we do when we catch people? During the 80s, I mean, the societal conscience, people like Ganifa, Fela, they've sang, they've talked, and they've aroused our consciousness as to one, authoritarian leadership, and as to two, docility of our followership. Many times we tolerate the inappropriate actions of our leaders, of our elected leaders, of our appointed leaders, and it's as if we're immune to it. It's as if it doesn't matter to us. But if we realize that at the end of the day, the fruit of corruption affects all of us. When a medical doctor directs patients to his private hospital from a public hospital, you may say it doesn't concern me, but one day it will concern you. If you, as a VIO, a vehicle licensing officer, are supposed to certify a vehicle, and the vehicle, you say this vehicle is roadworthy, and the vehicle is not, people may not see you as corrupt, but your action is leading to the death of people. If, as an aviation expert, you certify an aeroplane as flight worthy, and it crashes, you see, until we begin to see that the consequences of corruption affects us individually, and we take action to respond to it, that it is not when our elected officials when they give us pittances from our commonwealth that we are benefiting from the dividends of democracy. It is when we realize that that thing that they are using doesn't belong to them, and it is in our better interest for them to do the appropriate thing. And when somebody suddenly comes into sudden wealth, we see something, we say something. That's one of the, in fact, one of the catchphrases of recent times is that if you see something, it says, until we get to that stage where we abandon this cultural acceptance that, well, it doesn't affect me, it doesn't concern me, we will still continue to deal with these issues.
Yes. Professor Olede, let's look at it now. Okay, is it our value systems? What's in the people? Some would argue that, yes, it's always been there, but not at this level that it is now. Is it the value system that we've thrown off? Professor Akinade just talked about someone getting public office and people celebrate not because they know he's going to do some work, but because it's their turn. In the same vein, the same person who gets into public office begins to see that it's a time now to take care of his people. Mm-hmm. So what's in the value system then?
Thank you. I will take the two questions you put together, because the first part of it, I am eager to make a counter to what you have said. You said, why is it that some people appear not to belong to one religion or the other, and yet they are morally upright? I think something is wrong with our definition of who is religious. It's more important, more relevant to Islam than to Christianity. In Christianity, when you say somebody is an archbishop or a reverend, you will have, the qualification of being a reverend. In Nigeria, maybe if somebody prays regularly, he becomes a malam. Maybe because somebody has a beard, you call him Islamic scholar. So there is no basis for calling somebody an Islamic scholar or giving him the garb of a Muslim leader, other than just look at him. Maybe you think he has. To me, it is not our claiming to be a Muslim or being a Christian that makes us religious. And those people, there are people who are religious, but they don't accept that they are religious. They say, no, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in anything. but they conform because God had created every human being with the innate quality to identify what is good and be able to distinguish evil from good. It's part of the creation of God. Whether you agree that God did it or God did not, God had made it to be part of you, of every individual. Anybody who claims he does not believe in God, what he does in terms of good, in terms of distinction of evil from good from evil, shows clearly that you may not believe in God, but God is there because he had put that into you. But most of the people who put religion as the main issue, when you look critically, have come to a conclusion that when you see somebody who, rather than facing facts, is looking for anything to say, oh, it's about my religion, it's about my ethnicity, you will find out that he has something to cover up. It's just using religion or ethnicity as facade. Now, having said that, as the corruption had always been with us, what is wrong? Though I wouldn't want to agree totally with my brother that is in our DNA, because I believe that if it is so, everybody in Nigeria will be corrupt. Because if it is actually generic. But what I believe that what is happening is an environmental factor. And if we create appropriate environment, you will find out that people will do what is right. I've gone to many places in the world, and I've seen Nigerians behaving in a manner that I believe is typical Nigerian. Typical Nigerian is that my own belief is that it is Nigerian to be good. It is Nigerian to be upright. Those people who are doing things other than being right, who are not doing things right, I believe they are the ones that are not representing Nigeria. And you see people promoting Nigeria, doing things that are good. It is because the environment does not encourage corruption. I give you an example. I came to Abuja some months ago now. And when you look, at times I look at the system and I say, oh, the system itself is generating corruption. You put somebody is somewhere, you give him a responsibility, but the facilities made available to him ordinarily will not allow him to function without being corrupt. If you say, I'm sending somebody to Lagos, 2 persons, one is a level 15 officer, the other is a level 13 to attend one program, and somebody came and said, no, this level 7 cannot go by here. Say, why? Say, the regulation does not allow him. He has to go by road. Because, and I then ask the question, you are going for the same program, and this man will have to leave 3 days earlier than the day. At the end of the day, the night allowance that he's going to collect will be more than the flight fare. But somebody will just tell you that by public regulation, only level 8 can fly to Lagos. The poor man will go through the road, and at the end of the day, whose interest is being satisfied? I believe that we need to look at our system. There are systemic problems. There are problems that are being generated. You put somebody is in a position, he comes to Abuja, and they tell you, the smallest flat you can get is 2 million naira. Where do you get 2 million? To compound the problem, somebody says you have to pay for 2 years. Where do I get 4 million from? As you are looking at that, you are still thinking of what to do. Somebody tells you that if you don't pay for that 4 million, somebody else, and you don't want to leave house, stay outside. And in the process, somebody who is not related to you, somebody who has ulterior motive, will now tell you, oh, you are looking for money. Oh, I have one flat there. I can give it to you. Innocently, you take the flat from the man. By the time you know the man is coming with something that is against your conscience. I believe we should look at things that are systemic, that are things that are encouraging corruption. You give somebody, you ask somebody to manage 20-30 billion as a governor, and you now say the salary of that governor is 1 million, 2 million. Oh, we must be joking. I believe that let us pay people appropriately and then deal with them ruthlessly when they violate the rules. But we will be deceiving ourselves if we do not provide, and we think somebody was asking on today, a professor from Kenya was asking the question, that why do people spend a lot of money to go into an office where they will get less? And the issue simply is that they know that when they get to that office, they have ability to acquire illegally property that will be more than what they have expended. I think we need to look at the system.
Right. Archbishop. Yes, well, we're still talking about it. If it's our value systems, that our values have been eroded completely, or what is it? And who stands to defend it? Because you see, like we said in the example, both the people and their leaders, the leadership and the followership, they are united in thwarting, proper behavior. So who's going to defend this?
Well, sometime last year I did write an article which I entitled "The President Has Spoken, Let Nigerians Say Amen." All of us. Who is going to defend every individual who is a Nigerian? As I think both of them have said it. Prof, you first said this. President Buhari is committed to this. And people have been saying it. It seems he's the only person. What about the senators? What about the ministers? What about the religious leaders? What about the ordinary man on the street? If we all do not join him in playing our roles as we fight this corruption, even if he goes in for a second term, he leaves office, we'll be back to square one. So first and foremost, therefore, we all must be engaged in this work. This afternoon, I was in Kano. We were looking at the role of religious leaders, specifically in fighting corruption in this country. And I learned a lot from the imams, the sheikhs, the pastors, and what have you. One thing that I came up with from that workshop is the need for us religious leaders to model what we teach. What the Quran and Hadith on one side, what the Bible on the other. And they both teach virtually the same things when it comes to attitude or values, which you mentioned earlier on. There is virtually no difference. However, as Prof has said, we live over and above our means. Number two, Nigerians, once they get into position of leadership, they think of themselves and their immediate family members. And so dipping your hand into the money that is meant for everybody is not a problem. And as you said, Prof, we celebrate. I give you an example. When I was still bishop in Kaduna, the cathedral wanted to raise money for a public address system. It took ages. So a woman gave $500,000. This was about 6 years ago. Then the women wanted a bus to go out on evangelism. It took time. They finally bought this bus. And unfortunately, I was in church that day. They asked me to come and dedicate it. And typical me, I said, come, how did you get this money? Because I know you people were struggling. And the provost, who is now a bishop, said, Mrs. This, give them. I said, this Mrs. This, she was the one who gave $500,000.
Yeah,
so I said, well, let's go out. So we surrounded the bus. I said, I called her now, called her out. Madam, a few months ago, you gave $500,000. Now you gave about 800,000. What's your job? Where is this money coming from? There was silence. So I want to know what you do, otherwise I will not dedicate this bus. She imports heavy materials from outside the country. Everybody heard it. Everybody was happy and they clapped for her. That is the sort of thing I believe Prof is talking about. We must call a spade a spade. We put up, I'm going to talk eventually on how the religious people, because this is my constituency. That's not his constituency. Because today we are facing judges. We are facing judges and people are beginning to see what is happening. What about the religious leaders? Something has to be done, but I keep that.
Yes, Prof.
Well, you asked a question, and I'll go back to the issue of, is corruption innate in our culture? Is it inborn? Is it something that is part and parcel of our lives? I agree with Professor Loide. Corruption is not innate to anybody. It's a product of socialization and environment. We had a panel discussion yesterday at the workshop we are running for the Anti-Corruption Leadership Academy, which is ongoing at the ICPC Academy. And the question was a very simple one. Are Nigerians corrupt by nature? All 5 speakers agree that no. That it is the environment that makes people to become corrupt. The products of socialization, what they've seen around them, what the society has tolerated. And we give examples to show that there are honest Nigerians and they are more in number than the dishonest ones.
So why is it that the smaller number overwhelms the larger number?
Because the smaller number has access to the power, has access to the resources, access to the commonwealth. They are the ones who are pulling the strings. And when the level of access determines the level of your corruption, a level 7 officer who only deals with contractors whose files pass through his desk, that's the limit of his access to corruption. The man who presides over the award of the contract has a bigger access. Now, the question then is, who defends the system? You ask that question. Who defends the system? All of us have to defend the system. When we see something that is wrong, we need to blow the whistle. We need to talk. We need to make comments. We need to write opinion posts. We need to get across the message to the larger society until we begin to take this matter into our own hands and call people to order. I'll give an example, sir. 2009, 2010, I attended the education summit organized by the Senate when Senator Joy Modi was the chairperson of the education summit committee. A governor was invited. I won't mention the name. And he said something that he wanted to raise money for education in the state. And he invited the big people in the state, the rich people who he thought would be able to support the system. And he told him, Mr. Governor, we have the money, but we're not giving you. Why? Your commissioner for so, he was using this kind of car before he became commissioner. After 6 months, he has this fleet of cars. Where is the money coming from? This your commissioner for this. He has no house before he became your commissioner. He now has a house in GRA. He has a house in this. That money that he's using to do it, go and collect it. That you cannot tell us there's no money in government when we can see what people in government are doing with the money. These are things that we need to bring into the public domain. When we see that people are not or are living beyond their means, and many of our anti-corruption agencies, the CCB, the ICPC, they have the power to actually take your asset if they reasonably suspect that you are living as a public officer beyond your legitimate income. Come and demonstrate to us where you got the money. Okay.
Yes. All right, the phone lines are already open. We have Wally calling in from Abuja. I believe that's Wally. Right. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Wally.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm greeting everybody on the table this evening. Good evening. I love this particular issue of discussion. Let me go straight. We should just look into our religious leaders. What I really see so far is that any time they come to church, we celebrate them. We said, we give them encouragement. Those people, these people that are corrupt, that are worshiping in the church, we give them encouragement. I say, that man is working in the ministry of so. He has 5 cars. That man is a big man. And I'm telling you, and these our religious, our so-called, our pastors, they will be telling you that if they see someone that is very, very rich in the church, those people that are still struggling, they will be pushing as if they are cost. They will be pushing as if the poverty is a cause, of which those people, they will not be discouraged. They will be challenged. So if I thought they can do this, they become so rich, their pastor will be they will be well recognized by their pastors. So they will be looking for every opportunity to be very, very rich so they can be recognized in the church. And if you notice one thing that I discovered so far, if I even entering buses or cars, a seat that is meant for 3 passengers, they will be telling you that it's for 4. And we accept that's why they are doing it. The passenger will be telling themselves that, no, come, this is how they do it. Sit down. It is 4. As which it's not supposed to be like that. Look at our president. I love our president so much. Our Mr. President. He has been trying to work so much harder. And this President Buhari has been trying. We need to encourage this man. We need to encourage our president. The way this country is going, if something is not done, the youth that are coming up, if something is not done, if you notice, look at the issue of our football in the past. Football, they are the people that they recognize as talk people that are not associated in society. And now, because if you are playing football in the holy, they will be telling you, go and read your book, stop playing football. So that time they have not put eyes on football. Nigerian football begin to spring up. But when they discover that money is coming from the football, they begin to put their people. Before you know, football went down. Look at issue of music in Nigeria now. If you are come from a very rich family, if you don't know how to sing, there's no way you can make it. People that have suffered, that have been suffering so much, that's one that have, look at them. I know that I remember one guy that sings, we don't eat my car. Look where I see today. Look at those people that said, I know my story. You know how suffer they are. They can think. Now they find a way to enter. They find how to put corruption into Nigerian music. They couldn't get it. That's why you see Nigerian music going very high. I'm telling you, if you look at our football now, look at issue of less privilege. Now they don't have less privilege in their homes. That's why you see those people that are rejected in the society. See how many goats they want for our country. Now when they see now that in less privilege again, they are making money, you will see them, they will be bringing their own electricity they have in their home that doesn't have any talent. You will see all those things will come down. Please,
all right, Wally.
we need to
Thank you.
do something very fast.
Thank you so
to
much.
change our mentality. The moment Nigeria is going up on more challenges, you will see another. They will be putting. The moment they put their people, the thing goes down.
All right. Thank you so much, Wally. I guess general thing is alluding to is the fact that corruption is virtually in every aspect of national life, be it sports, music, every aspect. And that's the worry. And sometimes people say it would take a leader to help change the mindset. But again, the question we ask is, do the people elect, select, or appoint the appropriate leaders? Because the story has been told of, even in our politics too, where there's so much happening. It's been told of someone who was otherwise an upright man. He wasn't poor. He was comfortable by the standards then that people knew. Wanted to go into politics, and on the simple issue of printing of posters, he had to pull out because those who were supposed to be the foot soldiers came and said, look, we'll put your posters, but you have to bring in extra so we can tear the posters of the opponent. And he said, no, that's not fair. And the people said, well, you have not started.
You see, the problem in my own view is that if you want to fight corruption, you first of all study corruption and then be strategic in the fight against corruption. I believe when people say in Nigeria, they use one term that I find it difficult to agree with, that you are being selective. When corruption is widespread, you have to be selective. Otherwise, you are going to muddle the whole thing up. You don't fight in a system where corruption appears to be the cornerstone of the economy, where corruption is the bedrock of the economy. You have to arrange which one to tackle first in order not to get the whole thing down, because it appears the centrality of public life is relying on corruption. And anybody who wants to fight it successfully must have a plan. And when you ask the question, a leader who is elected, who emerges, I believe, to me, we have a great opportunity now. It is very, very rare for a person who is not corrupt to attain position of leadership in a corrupt society. It seldom happens. Where you find out that somebody who is not corrupt will emerge through a system that is corrupt. It's an opportunity. And when you are corrupt before you assume office, you cannot get to office and say you want to be holy overnight. People will say, Oga, remember when you were there, you know what you did. So when you have the opportunity like that we have now in Nigeria, either by divine intervention or by whatever reason, that everybody is saying, no, this man is not corrupt, it's at the leadership. It is at that time that we have to put on our thinking caps and ensure that in the fight against corruption, we are strategic. We take the first thing first and deal with it. I don't agree with many people say that maybe it's just President Buhari. I don't agree. I know that in this government, I could say that I know 2-3 persons that I know personally, that I can beat my chest that they are not corrupt. I've seen the vice president, even before he became vice president, he had always been a person that is forthright. And you can also say that of, at least I know 2 or 3 persons. Right. So if we celebrate those persons that we know are not corrupt, if we promote them, if we do not make general that, oh, all of us are corrupt, because some of the people who are corrupt, they go from the premise that all of us are thieves. It's only the person that is caught that is called a barao. So they go from a wrong premise. For me, I believe that all of us, most of us, are good people. Only bad people, and when they are caught. But because in order to justify what they are doing, they give the impression that every other person is corrupt. And I know more Nigerians who are not corrupt. The Nigerians that are corrupt that I know, they are not as many as Nigerians who are not corrupt. Though I want to believe that we should be celebrating those people who are not corrupt. We provide them with opportunity, rather than if we make 1,000 laws against corrupt people, that will not eliminate corruption. And as we are doing that, which is good, that is, sanction people family, also promote and celebrate those who are not corrupt, identify people in government and say, these people. And you must put people in government, those people that will be able to say, I submit my private life to public scrutiny. I submit my private life to public scrutiny. And you will scrutinize everything, and in truth, you will not find them behaving less than the standard.
Back to the phones. We have Wilson calling in from Warri. Is Wilson still on the line? Hello, Wilson.
Thank you very much. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Are you hearing me, sir?
Yes, we are.
Are you hearing me, sir?
Yes.
We can hear you, yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay. I thank everybody on that panel. Yes, okay. My contribution is this. Our country today is what it is because of the proliferation of churches. If you see, there is no place, there is no street in this Warri, for example, where you will not see more than 20, 30 churches. One will expect that as the churches are growing, the rate of corruption and the rate of evil in the country should drop. But instead, the evil is growing as churches are growing. Say, for example, many years ago, all those people, magicians you see on the street, are you seeing any of them on the streets again? In Lagos, everywhere, you see magicians. All those magicians have found their way into churches. They are now the pastors that people celebrate. And these pastors, they celebrate corruption. They celebrate thieves. They celebrate armed robbers. If you want to do a decent job to earn a living, they regard you as Mr. Nobody. I attended a church before, here in Warri. Those poor people that are coming, doing the work in the church, sweeping the church, cleaning the church, nobody gives regard to them. All those big men who come to church once in a year with big donations to the church, they are the people that the pastors will be celebrating. They will be telling the poor, godly people in the church, emulate Mr. Joe. He just came in, he donated 3 million, he came in, he bought a vehicle for the church, he came in, he did this for the church. If you see those of our governors now, they celebrated all those pastors. I call them political pastors. Many pastors in this country today are political pastors. They will go to the governors, they will be praying useless prayers for them. This is the government should do something about the proliferation of these churches in this country. And the church, in fact, I like what our man of God on the panel said about somebody who donated $500,000 and not quite long donated 800,000 to buy something in the church. We have some people in the church who steal. They will bring it back to the church. The pastor will bless them. They will go back. So go and steal more. Let the government do something about these churches. They are not paying taxes to the government. Okay. They breed criminals.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Wilson. I think you've made the point that, again, like we said, it's in virtually all aspects of life, even in places of worship. You find corruption has found its way in there, and just like Archbishop Ferron was saying himself.
Like I said earlier on, the brother has now brought us to the point. Everybody points a finger at the religious leaders. And this is my thinking, because it is a very worrying situation where we find ourselves today as religious leaders. First and foremost, why is it difficult for most religious leaders to actually challenge politicians who are corrupt? It's very simple. He said it. We put up huge programs, gigantic buildings that the members of our congregations cannot afford. So we go to these politicians without asking, where is this money coming from? They give us this money. When they know that they are the ones that give this money, it will be very difficult for us to actually challenge them.
Who pays the piper?
Exactly. Number two, how many pastors, bishops, archbishops, whatever, how many pay taxes? That's corruption. Everybody should pay tax. How many of the so-called religious leaders actually pay tax in this country? How many pay their electricity bills, water bills? How many of us pay? So if we don't do these things, what right have we to actually tell our members to do the same? Furthermore, how many pastors, like he said, have a fleet of vehicles? Where is the money coming from? Fleet of vehicles. Whatever the politician enjoys, the man of God will want to enjoy these things. And so we have sort of, we've aligned ourselves with the people we are being called upon to help spiritually and get them ready for heaven. We ourselves were not even ready for heaven. So I'm calling on pastors. Let us model what we know, what we believe. Let us live it. And if we do that, we'll be in a position to say, Minister, please do this.
All right, we'll take a short break here. When we return, we will now consider how this fight against corruption can be won to a large extent, and we'll look at the various strategies which can be adopted as to move the nation forward. Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, it was the president himself. He said it. Said we don't kill corruption. Corruption will kill Nigeria. So this segment of the program will begin to look at strategies that can be employed to kill corruption in Nigeria. Professor Akiriade.
Thank you. Let me start from where Professor Loede mentioned about a strategic approach to tackling the problem. Well, we need to move beyond seeing it as their problem, government problem. Seeing it as something that the government must be the one doing everything. It is something that all of us must embrace. But more importantly, it is time we moved and have a little bit of paradigm shift in terms of how do we address this problem. Too often we celebrate arrest and prosecution, jailing of offenders. But by the time you are arresting or investigating, it means an offense has been committed. It is time we moved to prevention, to widespread attitudinal change within the society.
But even in that, not to cut you short, but even in that, we still have issues because they'll tell you, okay, we celebrate arrests. And people are asking, how many convictions have come out of the arrests?
And that is the issue, that when you arrest, you initiate prosecution, there's no guarantee that there will be conviction. If you look at some months ago, the ICPC published the list of cases in court since about 2005, 2006. It runs into pages in the newspaper, meaning that the investigation has been done, concluded, and forwarded for prosecution, but nothing has happened. For me, we need to complement that effort with serious prevention, because the money we spend to prevent is infinitely less than we need to prosecute. Indeed, when you are prosecuting, it means that the money is gone, and what we recover is an infinite part of what has been stolen. And in these days of plea bargaining actually being the Criminal Justice Act, then people can actually plea bargain their way out of crisis. Now, the ICPC, which I work for now, has gradually shifted, in terms of its prevention mandate. It has a threefold mandate, prevention, enlightenment, education, and system study, as well as prosecution and investigation. But we are putting a great emphasis on a situation in which we actually deter and prevent the thing from occurring. In 2014, the ICPC Academy was transited to the Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria. And the major task is to work with the public sector, to work with different sectors of the economy in trying to build capacity to tackle corruption in those areas, in which we focus more on creating systems and structures that will deter corruption. If we can focus more on creating integrity systems in organizations, in agencies, in MDAs, where they can police themselves, where when a chief executive comes in, is constrained by the structure it makes in place, that this structure does not permit you to be corrupt. It's more difficult for you to change that culture. But when you meet a culture that is corrupt, you are more likely to find it difficult to change it. So let's create systems, let's create structures that encourage people to be decent, that encourages people to be people of integrity, that encourage people to act ethically and be ethically compliant. That is the starting point. Until we arrive at the point of attitudinal change. You see, you cannot legislate change of attitude. You have to work on it and make people to realize that what is happening is in our own best interest to change. Like I said today in our program, that when we are trying to initiate change, trying to enforce integrity in systems, we have a difficult task on our hands, because those who are profiting from the existing system will resist it. Those that will benefit from the incoming system are yet to identify with it. So we need to communicate the benefit to them. And the more aggressive we are in this, the more we let people realize that it is in our best interest for our leaders and for those holding positions of trust to act ethically and not take the Commonwealth as personal wealth. Until we get to that stage, we have challenges to that.
Now, Prof, how much does ignorance play in this? Because, yes, all well and fine, you talk about the attitudinal change, you establish, set up, firm up institutions to make it difficult, systems that will not permit corruption of those working it. But many times you find that at the lower rungs, the followership, would it be that they do not really understand the magnitude of this? Or what? Because you find a situation that even when the system apprehends a culprit, you find support coming from the lower rungs. They say, oh, well, this is our own. Why are we singling him out?
Right, yes.
He has provided so much for us.
Yes, I want to agree that it's more of poverty of idea and poverty of wealth, because people do that type of thing. I was listening to somebody narrating a story about a situation in one part of the country where somebody was accused of stealing money, and people were saying, "Ma kowo wa no, ma kowo wa no, igunu lo ni tapa, tapa lo ni igunu, ma kowo wa no." That is our own money. Spend it because you are ours. You see, you look at it, it's based on two things. The first one is that maybe those people are not convinced that of the propriety of the prosecution. If they feel that somebody is being persecuted, the first thing, rather than going on, the first thing is to enlighten the people and make them realize that this is not about persecution. It's about that we are doing the right thing about it. That's the first aspect why people do that. The second aspect is that people do that for what they have benefited or what they are hoping of benefiting from that person. That this person is the only one that is providing for us. And you now want to eliminate him. Let's face the fact. People are saying things are very hard now and so on. many people do not realize that it's better for us to face the hardship and rebuild. Because those who steal, they give 10% of what they steal to people, and people enjoy life somehow. And then when they don't have to steal, they don't have something to steal, or they are afraid of stealing, what you now have is that the poor man is also not having something. So the poor man is saying, allow him to steal so that we can get a little bit of it. I believe that on the two sides we should look at it. But the issue is it education? I don't know what people call education. Many of those being convicted of crime are educated. Many of them, when people say in those days, when we have missionary schools, most of those who caused the problem attended missionary schools. So I believe, in my view, that if people are really educated in the sense of not just imparting knowledge, but changing their attitudes, making them realize that this is evil and you should not move near it, by enlightening them, by making it, domesticating in their subconsciousness the evil of corruption. Just as the Archbishop Ferron was saying, that if you are corrupt, you might be killing people without knowing that you are killing. If you are corrupt, you might have been committing murder and you will not know that you are committing murder. You need to show them the connection between corruption and what they are doing. And apart from that, I also believe that there are three institutions that we must address. Religious groups, as we have said. This individualization of religious places of worship, whereby people who have failed to get job elsewhere, people who have not made a success of their career, suddenly become religious leaders. And they are establishing religious places of worship that can be inherited by their own biological children, not institutions. Is very common. It's more among the among the Christian groups in Nigeria, I must say. But the Muslims are now, if you look very well, they are learning very fast. And that's why you are now having these individual scholars who are, they call them shehu, they call them any name, but they are creating institutions in their own family names that could be inherited. I think that is one aspect. Traditional rulers, our traditional rulers also need to look at those people they are giving honor to, because people respect traditional rulers, and our traditional rulers should be very, very critical and selective of those people they appoint, they give chieftaincy title to. Universities, because people are looking for titles at all costs. And that is why I like what the Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities did, by saying that there are rules. Don't give honorary award. Don't give it to more than 3 in a year. Don't give to people in public office. Don't sanitize the whole thing. If somebody is a governor who funds a university, or he does not even fund, they want to bribe him to be able to fund, and you then give him honorary degree. That's that type of thing. These three institutions, universities, traditional rulers, religious leaders. I am not saying all rich people are corrupt, because there are poor people who are corrupt. And I'm amazed more about a poor man who is corrupt, because you have very little. Why are you vitiating the little you have? Because somebody who has big is committing a big error. My own situation is that let even the poor among us know that, hey, the rich people may commit so many crimes, they may do so many goods, and when you weigh the scale, it may be, they may score 51%. But you, the poor, with little to do, why do you allow yourself to get yourself involved in something that you may score 49 instead of 51 that is needed as a pass mark. My own approach is that whether we are poor, whether we are rich, let us all be upright in such a way that when we are called upon, if you say there is no heaven, if you get there and there is heaven, it will be too late for you to come back. A wise person will go on the assumption that whether there is heaven or not, let me be prepared for it. And then when you get there, when there is heaven, you say, oh, I thank God. If there is no heaven, you lose nothing. So it is important for us to go to the on the premise of accountability, and that will be something that will be very helpful to us.
All right, we've got a caller from Jos, Sambo, who's calling in from Jos. Hello, Sambo.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. I want to speak specifically on socializing. I want to speak specifically on socializing anti-corruption. You know, when we were little, if you steal, there's a way the community embarrass you. And when we were growing up, it was so antisocial for us to steal. And I could remember in my primary school, when you piss in your trouser in class, they will sing for you, shame. And now, corruption has been so social that people don't even consider who is next to them. And all the time, we talk about persecuting the corrupt, but we don't talk about socializing the good deeds we have. So, to my own perspective, let's stop persecuting the anti-corrupt, the corrupt, but let's socialize anti-corruption. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Right. Okay. Accountability.
Yeah. Both of them have spoken about integrity. We have this culture of either being timid or being afraid of calling on our leaders to give an account. We elected them. A commissioner or a governor comes to Abuja, or money is sent. We read that this is for this road, this is for that road, this is for water, this is for this hospital. We need to begin to encourage the people, our society, to cultivate that courage to say, well, Mr. Governor, this was given for that. It's not been done. I know there are certain parts of this country where that is being done. I know it's been done in Lagos. Even recently, people called the governor of Lagos State to order that, look, the road you said you constructed, these roads have not lasted. We need to encourage that courage to call our leaders to account. Secondly, for our politicians, I want to maintain what I said. I do agree that, well, I don't know the vice president. I do agree that with you, because I've heard a few of other people say that the vice president is also committed to this. But look at our politicians. When we were campaigning for elective positions, people migrated from one party to another. Today, we have people in the ruling or governing party who still have their allegiance to their old party. You go back to their home states, the people they've put in position there still belong to their old party. There is no honesty in this. We need to begin to tell ourselves the honest truth. Our politicians need to come out clean. Let them be honest. If you are in PDP, please stay in PDP. If you are in APC, you know you've moved from one party to another, but you cannot say I'm this and yet your allegiance is... It's corruption. It is corruption. So let's call it the way it is. So our politicians, they need to be honest. And the society must now cultivate that culture of calling those we've elected into positions to account for what is given for the generality of the people.
All right. From Port Harcourt, we have Into calling in from Port Harcourt. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Evening.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Yeah, about the things we should do to stop corruption. It has to be a systemic thing, not just running around people we think have stolen. People send their children to school overseas. How much money do they have? People who work in government. The government has to place a ban that if you are working with government, you should not send your children to school. If you have children who are already in school, in overseas, you should retrieve them. Ekweme did that when he became the vice president. And you should not also have any bank account overseas. Some years ago, an Israeli prime minister was impeached because she had, was it $2 or $10 in our bank account overseas. We have to do all that. And also, you don't keep rats in the same house with the fish. We should evolve a system that people don't get in touch with money. The people in government, we should separate them from money. Let's look for a system that we have a cashless system so that people don't get in touch with money. Now, another one is starting from the top. The worst corruption we have is nepotism. People go into government and start stealing money, giving jobs to only people from their families, their environment. And the other people become annoyed. Because if you are not involved, you are completely cut off, your people are completely cut off, you can't take care of yourself. So we have a national system of employing people, we have a state system of employing people, we have to do that so that everybody feels that it is taken on board. People are frustrated. That's why some people, when they get access to money, they steal.
All right. Thank you very much, Intuk. Thank you. Right.
Well, maybe I will take it to the level, it's a systemic level. We need to support the war against corruption. Fine. But one thing we need to also understand is that we have enough legislations in this country to address virtually every aspect of corruption we're talking about. Is it money laundering? Is it bribery? Is it gratification? Virtually every aspect of corrupt practices are addressed in one law or the other, beginning from the code of conduct. Indeed, I've said it, and most people also agree, that if we enforce faithfully the clauses in the Code of Conduct Act, we don't even need the other anti-corruption agencies. So until we begin to implement our existing legislations faithfully and apply the necessary sanctions that are contained therein, we may not have started. When we have widespread attitudinal change, there will still be people that will be deviants in the society. No matter how integrity compliant we are, those that will still steal. The question is, how do we undo them? How do we treat those that are caught? How do we treat those that are found to have corrupted themselves while holding public office? Rather than celebrate, we should move forward. I mean, we know that we do it, but we should stop. The question, we need to move ahead with enforcement of every aspect of the law. If the law says 10 years imprisonment, let it be 10 years imprisonment. But by the time we are dribbling around, somebody cracked this joke that it is when our people are caught for an offense they committed in office that they fall sick. That's when they have hypertension. That's when they have high blood pressure. And that's when the medicines are not working. That when they were stealing our money, they were not sick. Now, they need to go overseas for medical treatment. Look, let us call a spade a spade. If somebody has committed an offense, let the law be applied. We have enough legislations in place. And if we are faithful enough, they can take out the system.
The people say, yes, we do have the laws in place. But again, for those who have enriched themselves from the public till, they also have the resources to. So now the system of justice is coming under scrutiny. But we hear things from all sides, people who are arguing for and against. Well, a lot of Nigerians are caught in between. What is going on? Because people are saying, well, this institution should be the one that, would be the last hope. But again, there are also allegations that even that institution itself has been tainted.
Yes. I am of the view that, you see, when there is a problem in this country, we go for a solution, even if any solution, even if the solution will be more dangerous than the original problem. We do not, more often than not, analyze the situation and decide where we are going. People will be making recommendations. For instance, I've heard people say that, yes, people should not have bank accounts abroad. It's already a criminal offense for public officers to have accounts outside the country. If there is violation, deal with the violation. People say, oh, people should not send, public officers should not send their children to private schools. Then what do you want to achieve with that? If there is a way that, you send your child to this particular school, where do you get the money from? That is the issue. But if somebody is just because it's in private, it's in public life, therefore his child cannot go to public school, I do not. Now, when people talk about nepotism, and people say, you have in the Constitution a section of the Nigerian Constitution that says the federal character principle should be respected. When you look at that clause, it's loaded. It says in such a way that no state, ethnic, or sectional groups will dominate.
That's an advantage.
You get the point? All over the other. You talk of state, is clear. You talk about ethnic, is clear. But because the drafters of the Constitution are matured, they now say other sectional interests. Our federal character, they are just looking at the states. They are looking at ethnic. They are not looking at other sectional interests. If I'm a man and I'm in a particular office and I want to recruit 100 and 90% of these people I recruit are men, women, we should look, that's part of the other group. Or I'm a Muslim, I want to recruit, we are recruiting, call them any state, 100 of them, and you find out that 80% of them are Muslims. Then something is wrong somewhere, and you have to look at it. But because we have politicized everything, even when that is not done, the mere fact that somebody does not belong to your religion is enough to criminalize that person. And I was giving an example recently. Some appointments were made, and some people are saying, oh, 3.5 of them were from Bayero University in Kano. Why Bayero University in Kano? Some may be genuine in their criticism. From that same ministry, a month or so later, 3.5 people were appointed from the University of Ibadan. Nobody spoke. But I was now asking, where are those people who are making the noise when it happened? Which means it was not because of that, because they had some other ulterior motive. So our criticism, particularly the press, we should live above sentiments and make sure that when we criticize objectively, not criminalize somebody because it does not belong to your own faith or because it does not belong to your own region. When it is done by somebody who belongs to your religion or your group, you accommodate it. But when it is done by somebody else, you blow the whole roof and you say, oh, what has happened? Let us be critical. Let us look at things, but be objective in what we do. I believe Nigeria will be better for all of us if we are sincere about our criticism.
We have Godwin from Uyo. Hello, Godwin. Hello, Godwin. Godwin from Uyo.
Uyo is too far.
Well,
it's too far.
I'm not sure Godwin is still on.
I want to contribute.
Okay, go ahead, Godwin.
Hello?
Yes, go on.
Hello? Now, I want to contribute that corruption can be fought successfully in Nigeria, and that if the police and other agents are really empowered and enlightened, then there is no need for the manner in which the DSS are used in arresting the judges. It will run counter because it's going to provoke Nigerians. But if the police and other agencies are well nurtured, well enlightened on how to follow, on how to handle those who are suspected to be involved in corruption, then it will be better for Nigeria. See, corruption is not only inherent to Nigeria, it's everywhere. But the way we handle it will give us way out of the solution. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Let me, you've said something about judges and that Nigerians, in everybody sort of, Nigerians are caught in between. I want to be corrected. Is there any law in our Constitution, any section of our Constitution that says there is a particular segment that cannot be investigated? I've not come across that. I'm not sure is there. If I'm right, yes, some people have said, and I accept that the mode of arresting these our esteemed judges, the method was too high-handed, it was that, fine. That could be corrected. However, is there any substance? DSS, EFCC, I'm sure they actually had their reasons for doing that. And you know, some time ago, Mr. President did say outside the country, and he repeated it here, that, look, all these people who've been arrested, to get our money back, there are so many obstacles by the legal people. Probably this is part of the solution. I feel that Nigerians need to be patient. These are highly placed individuals who actually sit to pass judgment. Some of them, I'm sure they've passed death sentence on people. It is their turn. I feel Nigerians do not need to be confused. let us be patient and wait to see if this anti-corruption thing will sort of clean out a part of the judiciary. Number two, we need to encourage, because we said, what do we do? I think, again, we need to begin to encourage whistleblowers, to protect them, especially if there is substance in what they give us. Like this guy from the National Assembly, all sorts of things have been said about him. He was also part of the corruption. He was this, he was that. Nobody will question that. There is some truth in it. However, is there substance in the allegations he has made? What is being done about this padding? I had never heard of padding. And the thing seems to have died down. So if, and I'm told this guy, he's now even in hiding. Nobody's protecting him. Whereas in the past, we've had people who actually looted and stole. We had people demonstrating in their favor. No, nothing has happened about this to this young man, and he's there hiding. I think a part of fighting corruption would be to be prepared to protect whistleblowers. And if eventually they are also found to be involved, well, let them go through the same system. All right? These are the 2 points I want to make. Thirdly,
right,
those in government, those outside government, I have found out that that constituency also encourages corruption. How? This is my brother, you know, or this is a company that I know about, Mr. Minister or Mr. President, please kindly make sure that give them something. This is corruption. So it is an appeal. If we want to really take steps in fighting corruption, I think those outside government should allow those in government. They should allow Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, and all of them to actually do their own job the way they understand it, not to begin to impose, you know, or try to sell the people they are fronting for. I think that is part of corruption.
All right, thank you. We go over to Kaduna now, and we have Yusuf who's calling in from Kaduna. Hello, Yusuf. Is Yusuf still there?
Hello, my name is Yusuf. I'm calling from Kaduna.
Right.
Yes, I'm there. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. My contribution is this. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
My contribution is this. Yes, what we are doing in Nigeria is more or less a sectional politics. Because at any given time when a leader is elected, what we always think about is where he comes from, and his people. Then, at the end of the day, you find out that if you are to fight corruption at all, it's always selected as well.
Okay. All right. Yusuf, you know, it's taken you a while to get your point across. I guess you're also listening to the hurlback, listening to yourself. But again, you've been able to push across a bit of what your opinion is on the subject matter. But as we begin to wind down, there's also the aspect of I want us to look at. We've talked about the leadership, what the leadership must do. Now I'm saying the role of the citizens. Now, a lot of time, a lot of people just see the issue of corruption as that big cancer, big issue for, you know, big places. And individuals forget that little things which they do also contributes to the problem. A man gets a car, he can afford millions to buy a car, but he doesn't want to register it, and he knows somebody somewhere who will let him through. Yeah. Someone gets to the traffic light, he thinks it is stupid to wait, and he goes across. You challenge him, I say, after all, big men do it too. So what is the role of the ordinary citizen here?
Yes. I believe that the ordinary citizens have a lot of roles to play. And that is, one, I believe they should put their trust in God. There is only God that can provide for you. Do not have the impression that you need to appeal to a corrupt person in order to satisfy your personal needs. Two, no matter how painful the situation is to you, it's better to do the right thing. I had the privilege, a very good opportunity of traveling between Nigeria and Ghana recently by road. Wow, at the border, the so-called ordinary Nigerians, the so-called ordinary officer, you will see that at the border, particularly between Nigeria and Republic of Benin, between Republic of Benin and Togo, it's horrible. What the ordinary people, there are people who are touts, who are there, you will spend hours there. And these are ordinary people who are exploiting other ordinary people. When you see the rich people who are going, maybe a minister, maybe a big man going, the policeman, the ordinary policeman who is accompanying this big man is beating another poor man who leave the road. He belongs to the same class. In protection of the so-called higher class, you are oppressing somebody who is of the same class with you. I believe that people should put on their thinking caps and realize that our commonwealth will get to them, will be better for them if protected. But if you celebrate or encourage one way or directly or indirectly somebody to take on it, it's taking your blood, it's taking your life, and at the end of the day you are going to pay for it, because you are going to give be given an insignificant part of what is stolen. Somebody has stolen maybe 1 billion naira, and that person looks at you and he gives you 1 million naira. What is the percentage of 1 million naira in a billion? But because of poverty, you think 1 million is a lot of money. Let us look for, endure a situation and make sure that we do things right. You are looking for money, we are looking for money, but let's look for money in a legitimate manner. Let's look for influence in a legitimate manner. I'm happy now that when you are appointed into an office, before, I don't know of elsewhere in Yoruba land, when you are appointed, people say, wàá fi ní, wàá fi yá, wàá fi rà, wàá lówó ń bẹ̀, wàá ṣe kíní. That is, they will pray for you that may you use this office to acquire. But now, whenever you are appointed, you say, Ọlọ́run ní jẹ́ ọkọ báyìí o, ní ṣẹ̀wọ̀n o. That is, now there is, whether we like it or not, there is in the subconsciousness of people that it is dangerous to go into public office. And I like it, because people are no longer saying, when they come to you to congratulate you, they are not saying you should build a house. They say, be careful, may God not allow your name to be spoiled. So we are moving towards a correct direction, because people are afraid that you can be in trouble if you do not manage it well. And I think that's the right way to go. Let's push more. So restructure, and let the individual, let everybody be a fighter against corruption. Let everybody, every citizen know that what we are talking about is not the property of those who are managing it. They are mere custodians of this world, and therefore we must question them and ensure and ask people, if you are giving money and you are spending it, let's ask, let there be a method, let's be a way that, okay, we budgeted 3 billion for this road. How much was released? Oh, 500,000. Let us see what we have expended the money on. Let us publicize. In your local government, they have done this. In your local government, they have. Do not read budget by amount of money, but by projects. Instead of saying we have spent 3 billion on education, tell us what you have done with the 3 billion on education. I think that's what it is.
Okay, Professor Olede, I'd just like to stay a moment longer with you because this also is your constituency. That is academics. People have said there's a lot we can do in instilling these values by teaching in our educational institutions. And you also mentioned it. You said the universities.
Yes.
How do we
achieve that? I believe that we are incapacitated. That's the way I see it. Because when you talk of this Boko Haram, I was asking some postgraduate students last month. I said, look, why is it that these people could influence people to the extent that they will be doing this? And I'm a professor of more than 20 years standing. And I cannot influence, I cannot make people to do. And these people look like illiterates. What strategy do they put in place to be able to indoctrinate people that I'm not able to influence my own students to be able to do things the way I like? I think we have structural problems. One of the problems I think we have in the universities is that there is no passion. Many people are in the teaching profession for lack of other things to do. 2, there is serious lack of supervision. When ministries of education are talking of quality assurance, I don't know what they are talking about. I believe inspection is what we know. There is no inspection. In some ministries of education, it's when people commit offense and they don't want to see them in the mainstream that they send them to inspectorate division. We are not inspecting, we are not doing this. I believe that is it. But universities and other tertiary institutions, I believe they are positioned. And if we can remove what I call institutional obstacles, if we can make universities and other institutions to be passionate about their mandate, and if they are supported to do so, if there is, because you cannot practice what you do not have, if they are educated and appropriate persons are there, I believe the universities can do a lot.
Right, Archbishop Ferron, even you also have been involved in propagating, in institutions of learning too.
The first question you put to us is about the ordinary citizen. In addition to what Prof has said, we discussed this in Kano this afternoon. This social media, I think we need to begin to encourage the ordinary people. NTA, you don't do it, but channels, they do it. And I actually watch them in London every night, 10 o'clock. I sometimes watch this one also. This, in between the news, you have pictures sent in from the various parts of Nigeria. Because I'm a student of sociology, that tells a lot. I think we need to encourage the ordinary citizen to report, take these pictures, take these photographs.
Well, what contribution do you regard Archbishop Ferron? No? We are also into that. Okay. We advertise all the time.
No, you advertise, but this is free.
Maybe we advertise that you can.
All right, okay. All right, thank you. Okay, all right, I will do that. Okay, I will watch more of that. So I think social media is the thing. Look at what happened in Turkey, that military coup. What killed the coup was social media. I think and Nigerians are good at social media. I think we need to encourage the ordinary people. Okay. Secondly, the education thing you talked about. I'll just say something about the education thing. In addition to what Prof said, I was teaching at Kaduna State University. And there is a course which every student, whether you are Muslim or Christian, must undertake, and that is religion and human values. We expose them to these our values which we have in the Constitution. I think that also is important.
All right, Professor, because we'll be rounding off with you now.
Thank you. Now, I think we need to also recognize what has been done and is being done in terms of mainstreaming anti-corruption modules into the education system. For some years now, the ICPC, as well with the NERDC, National Educational Research and Development Council, to develop the National Values Curriculum, which is infusing anti-corruption modules into the basic education system. And it's already on. So we need to recognize that there are already efforts being undertaken. And just recently, the teacher module was also launched. Now, our building capacity of teachers to be able to teach these modules. Now, the current level is trying to work the tertiary institution system. This current session that is ending, depending on when your session started.
Which university? Whether correct university or...
University of Calabar introduced the anti-corruption module into its general studies program. And we are trying to develop it into a system-wide program for our tertiary institutions. So this we need to recognize. Let me just, on the citizen action, I think we need to go back to the issue of let the people recognize that the consequences of corruption affects all of us. Until we come to that realization that what Mr. X is doing, is perpetrating, is affecting me or my family directly. It is then we stop celebrating inappropriate actions. We need to move to that level. And the issue of the people monitoring the implementation of government projects and budgets is very important. Because until we begin to call our leaders to account, they may not realize that they owe us anything. They need to go to that level where we need to call them into account.
All right. Thank you so much. We've just about run out of time. Otherwise, we would have also asked you to comment briefly on the issue of the social media, because people have also expressed dangers about what goes on social media, which may not be verifiable most times. So two sides, of course.
The truth is that for every side, there is the negative and there is the positive. Let's take advantage of the positive side.
All right. Okay. So that's it, and it's the usual thing I say every Tuesday, which dovetails into Wednesday, that no one program can take care of any issue completely. And so this is where we'll have to leave this matter for now. Some other time we'll return to it, and hopefully we'll ask our guests to come in and avail us of their knowledge on how to tackle corruption in Nigeria. Let's say a big thank you to our guests here, Professor Shola Akiniade, Provost of the Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria. That's set up by the ICPC. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And let's say a big thank you to Archbishop Josiah Ido Ferron, Secretary General of the Anglican Communion Worldwide. And thank you so much. It's nice to see you again. It's been quite a while.
and in pound sterling.
Oh, well. Perhaps we'll help to revamp the economy by sending some back home. And for Professor Isaac Oloyede, Registrar of JAMB and Secretary General of the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, thank you. It's also been a while since we've hosted you on this platform. So thank you. So thank you very much. So, and to all of you who stayed up and were part of this program, I say thank you. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.